Hey guys, reading here. Today, I don't know, we're just doing another podcast. I know it's been a while, but yeah. Uh, I don't know, I'm just randomly doing it today, I guess. I don't really have anything to talk about. Hold on. See if we can find anything related or something. Uh, I don't know, I haven't thought of anything. And you know what? Hold on. I'm, we're gonna talk about our UFO incident with the train crew. Alright. Alright, we'll just look back in the state files. Alright, crap. Alright, so this takes place on the Monon Railroad, or Monon, I forgot how to pronounce it. So anyway, a train crew reported seeing a UFO in north central Indiana. Is around 3:20 a.m. on October 3rd, 1958. It was en route southbound from Monon to Indianapolis. In the cab of the diesel locomotive were three men: Harry Ekman, the engineer, dang, they had strange names, Cecil Bridge, the fireman, and Morse, strange names for some guys. The head brakeman, Ed Robinson, the conductor, and Paul Sosby? Dang, there's weird names. The flagmen were in the caboose. Cecil Bridge, I don't know, I'll just pronounce it like that. The fireman, a former Air Force man with 450 hours of heavy bomber time, begins the story as follows. We had just pulled past a little spot called Wasco. There's no town there, just kind of crossroads. It was there we first noticed four lights in the sky ahead of us. They were moving lights. At first they looked like stars, but we realized they weren't stars because they were moving. We could see that they were moving in a sort of open V formation. By that I mean that there was no light at the forward point of the flight. There just the two wings with two lights in each wing angled off at about 45 degrees from each other. Oh, dang. My voice hurts. I must have spotted them first. After I had watched them for about 15 seconds, I called them to the attention of the other men in the cab with me. They watched the lights, too. About that time, the lights veered west. They crossed the tracks ahead of us. About a half mile ahead of us, we estimated they were moving pretty slowly, too, but at no more than about 50 miles per hour. Four big white soft lights. Just the three of us in the engine saw the lights at this time. We were pulling 56 cars. That's a little more than half a mile of cars, and because of the angle at which these things were approaching, and because they were so low right then, the boys in the caboose probably couldn't see them. After the lights crossed the tracks in front of us, they stopped and came back. This time they were headed east. They shot off towards the east and were gone in a few minutes, out of sight. But when they came back and we all saw them again, I turned on the microphone. We have a radio open between the engine and caboose. I told the boys in the caboose what we were watching. I talked to Robinson, the conductor, and told him what we had seen during the time we watched these things from Wasco to Kirkland. We did a lot of thinking on that radio. The dispatcher in Lafayette could hear us, of course, but he never cut in. Boys in the caboose got the best look at the things, especially when they came right down over the whole train. So anyway, Conductor Robinson continues this part. I was sitting in the cupola, looking over the train, when Bridge called me on the radio. I had already noticed the four gobs of light, but I couldn't make out what they were. They were half a mile ahead of the caboose, the whole length of the train. Oh man, throat's sore. A little bit after he called me, hold on, the things went away and we didn't see them for a few minutes. Then all of a sudden they came back. This time they came down over the train, a little way in back of the engine. They were coming toward the caboose. That is, they were going north, and the train was heading directly south. I'd say there were only a couple of 100 feet above the train as they came towards the caboose, and they weren't moving very fast, maybe 30 or 40 miles per hour. It was hard to tell. A fellow just doesn't notice the details like that under the circumstances. The freight train was pretty noisy, of course, but I didn't hear any other noise like the roar of an airplane would have made. I think they were silent or nearly silent, at least. They flew over us, one after the other, big round white things that looked about the color of fluorescent lights, kind of fuzzy around the edges. They didn't glare, and and they didn't light up things as they went over. They just came back towards us over the top of the cars, one after the other. Then they went on down the tracks, maybe another half a mile or two, and seemed to stop. Sauceby and I went out onto the on the back platform where we could see them better. But they were getting pretty far behind us. We could see their lights, but I don't remember whether they were bunched up or not. They were just there. We know that. We could see them behind us, right over the tracks. Then they swung off away from the tracks and went fast, very fast, to the east. When they picked up speed, their light got a lot brighter. They, they got real bright and white like stars, but a whole lot bigger and moving very fast. Cecil Bridge, observing the same objects from the engine, describes what he and the engineer and head brakeman saw. When these things shot back over to the east of us, they lit up much brighter than they were before. Sorry about that. They turned in line, going north or south, north or northeast, actually. And we noticed that they lit up in a sequence. The front one, I lost track, hold on. The front one first, and then number 2, number 3, number 4. They all changed course and came back past the train. They were going in the opposite direction to us. When they made it past, I guess they were at least a mile or two east of us when they did it. They lit up twice, as described above. First number 1 would light up, then number 2, and so on. They did that twice as they went past us, traveling in the opposite direction. We noticed too that their color changed. When they first lit up, they were bright white, but then when they slowed down, the color changed to some kind of yellow, then to orange. When they went real slow, a kind of dirty orange. Oh dang! It's pretty long. The conductor Ed Robinson agreed with this description. He added, "We didn't see them from the back end of the train for several minutes. After they went away to the east and turned, but the boys in the engine were still seeing them. I got back on the radio with Bridge. He was watching them all. Them right then. They must have circled the train and gone north of us, real low, because the next time we saw them, they came rushing up the tracks, riding back of us. They were coming a lot faster this time, a lot faster than they had come back over the train the first time. They were just above the treetops along the right-of-way, and they had changed their way of flying. Their formation this time, they were sort of flying on the edge. 2 of them were on the edge. The 2 in the middle, the 2 on the outside were tilted at an angle, both in the same direction. The 4 of them flew like that up the tracks, behind the train, and tilted one on the east, 2 of them straight up and down, and one on the west tilted, just like one on the east. When they first came back over the train, we could see that they were round things, circular shaped at the bottom. Then when they flew up the tracks in the back of us, we can see Sosby and I that they were about 40 feet in diameter and maybe 10 feet thick. The 2 flying straight up and down were approximately over the edges of the right of way, and about 200 yards in back of the caboose. If they had been flying flat down instead of edgewise, they would have just about have touched the edges. So they must have seen somewhere around 40 feet across the bottom. Fireman Cecil Bridge continues. We had flashlights. We had flashlights in the engine and in the caboose up on the head end of the train. In the engine where I was, We blinked our flashlights at the things, and we waved the lights. We thought we might get them to come in closer. They did come down over the train for a few minutes later. As Robinson related, but of course, I can't say they did it because we flashed the lights at them. At any rate, they didn't flash any lights back at us. Robinson continues. In the caboose, we had a 5-cell sealed beam flashlight that throws a pretty good beam a long ways. When the things came down and flew right up the tracks behind the caboose, I grabbed that sealed beam flashlight and shined it on them. As soon as the light hit them, they jumped sideways out of the beam. When they got back over the tracks, I did it again, and they scattered. They acted like they didn't care for the light at all. From the time Bridge first called us on the radio until the last time we saw them near Kirkland, 38 miles northwest of Indianapolis, it was about an hour and 10 minutes altogether. They hung around the back end of the train, but after we shined the light on them, they didn't come in close anymore. While we were switching at Frankfort, they stayed way back up the tracks, just hovered there till we moved on. Then they followed us again, and finally, when they finally went away at Kirkland, they just zipped off to the northeast and kept on going, and we didn't see them anymore. And yeah, so yeah, that's technically what happened. And yeah.